On the night of April 26, 1944, under the dark skies over France, 21-year-old Flight Officer Fred Mifflin controlled his Lancaster bomber, part of a formation of over 200 aircraft on a critical mission to strike German targets. The enemy was ready. German radar had detected the incoming bombers, and lurking in the shadows were specially adapted Bf-100 and 10 night fighters, armed with upward-firing cannons. A Lancaster flying nearby was caught unaware as a Bf-110 eased beneath it and unleashed a devastating burst of fire. Mifflin's crew saw a sudden flash to their left and then the horrific sight of one of their own engulfed in flames, spiraling toward the ground. They watched in horror as more Lancasters fell the same way. As they neared their target, Mifflin's voice steadied the crew over the intercom. "Get ready, men. Coming close." Behind him, flight engineer Norman Jackson made way for the bomb aimer, who scrambled into position. Flak exploded around them, rocking the aircraft. A voice crackled through the intercom. "We're hit." Shrapnel had torn into the Lancaster's wing. "Don't worry, boys. I've still got her under control," Mifflin reassured them. Seconds felt like eternity as the bomb aimer peered through his sights, tracking the designated target below. Flares from the Pathfinders illuminated the ground, and the moment arrived. Bombs away. A chain of fiery eruptions signaled a direct hit. Mifflin took control once more and turned for home, praying for the safety of his crew in the darkness. At higher altitudes, German night fighters hunted with ruthless efficiency. Guided by radar, an FW-190 pilot spotted the Lancaster drifting in the moonlight. Silent and unseen from above, he adjusted his approach and fired. Cannon shells ripped through the bomber's tail. "I'm hit," came the cry from the tail gunner, Norman Johnson, now grievously wounded. The Lancaster's remaining gunners returned fire as the German pilot disengaged and disappeared. The tension was unbearable. "Keep them peeled, boys. He's out there somewhere." Moments later, the FW-190 struck again, raking the aircraft with gunfire. The right wing was ablaze. Mifflin knew he had to act. "Hold on, men." He wrenched the massive bomber into a desperate corkscrew maneuver, trying to shake the enemy. But the FW-190 was relentless, hammering the aircraft with more rounds. Jackson, wounded by shrapnel, saw the fire growing. He knew what had to be done. Toft Higgins come over. Ignoring his injuries, he explained his daring plan. He would climb out onto the wing and extinguish the fire. The crew hesitated in disbelief. That's certain death. But Jackson remained resolute. "If I do, you should be able to drag me back in. If I don't, feed the parachute out best you can." There was no time for debate. The bomb aimer and navigator took hold of the parachute lines as Jackson prepared himself. Mifflin slowed the aircraft as much as possible, but they were still hurtling through the sky at 180 miles per hour. The hatch opened, and an icy blast roared through the bomber. Jackson forced himself out, using an escape axe to anchor himself against the wind, step by agonizing step. He moved toward the wing's leading edge, the fire's glow lighting his perilous path. Fighting against the freezing wind, he took out an extinguisher, his burned hands barely able to hold on. He jammed the nozzle into holes left by the cannon shells and squeezed a handle. Miraculously, the flames began to die. "He's doing it. It's working." The crew's cheers barely registered as he focused on putting out the last embers. He dared to believe he might make it back alive. But above them, the FW-190 pilot had seen the fire disappear. He returned for one final attack, his cannon spitting fire. Jackson screamed in pain as bullets tore through his leg and shoulder. The wing beneath him was ruptured. Fuel spilled into the night, igniting in an instant. A fireball engulfed Jackson. He was torn from the wing, his parachute line snapping taut in the crew's hands. "He's gone," someone shouted. There was nothing more they could do. They released the lines, sending him spinning into the burning sky. Inside the Lancaster, Mifflin fought for control. The bomber was barely holding together. Dropping below 7,000 feet, "Get out of here," he commanded. The crew scrambled for the escape hatch. "Johnson won't survive the jump, Miff." "I hear you, Smith. Bail out." Smith hesitated. Looking back at the dying tail gunner before following orders, one by one, parachutes bloomed in the night. As they drifted toward the ground, they watched their flaming Lancaster plunge into the darkness. Mifflin, unwilling to leave Johnson behind, made the impossible choice. He would try to land the stricken aircraft. "Norman, I'm landing the plane, you hear me?" "I hear you, Miff." Their fate was sealed. The burning aircraft never made it back.